Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And today we're talking about how our thoughts are things, or are they? Are our thoughts things, or are they energy? What happens when we think the same thought over and over again? And what's happening when we decide to change our thinking and change our life? Let's see how that goes. I recently hosted a masterclass called Three Transformational Keys to Manifest Your Soul's Vision. I've done a masterclass before called Three Transformational Keys to Align with Your Soul's Vision, and this one was a little different, or a lot different. It was based on the law of manifestation, or the law of attraction, and there's so many ways we can think about it and look at it. But this was really powerful because I really described in that hour and a half masterclass how I came to be where I am in my life. And in my life, I have been able, with the help of coaches and mentors, to really release the thoughts that I didn't know were hidden in my subconscious. So most of us know that now our subconscious is, scientists will tell us, between 93 and 97% is our thoughts and what's underlying our motives, our actions, our behaviors is 97 to 93% unconscious. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. Whereas that means only 3 to 7% is what we are actually aware of when we stub our toe and we think, oh, that really hurt, or I'm going to be late, or those things that we're aware that we're thinking and we're running around doing something. We become aware. But the 90 something percent that is hidden, it's what we don't know that we don't know. So transformational books like The Secret, which came out in 2006, really helped the masses, all of us, to understand the idea that thoughts become things, or our habitual thoughts can become things. So most of us did what was suggested in the book, which is just changing our thoughts. The problem is, what we're aware of that we're changing is the 3 to 7%. How do we get below the surface? What do we need to do? And there's two ways of doing that. One is working with a coach, and that's just all there is to it, because sometimes we are so close to who we are, we cannot see the forest through the trees. We're just staring at this one tree or that one tree, and we don't see the 97% of unconscious motivations, hidden thoughts, and ideas and beliefs that we have. But another way is that we can just look at our life. And if you have an area in your life where you are lacking, where you are struggling, where things don't seem to flow easily at all, where you find yourself manipulating and trying to manifest and trying to work on things, putting out fires, and yet you still don't get to where you think you should be. That is an area of our life where we probably, and in most cases, absolutely do have some hidden or unconscious beliefs. So we can just look at our lives. Where am I struggling? Because most of us have the understanding of the concept of being in flow, or being in alignment with life itself, being in integrity with spirit, mind, and body. And when that happens, even when things don't happen perfectly, things can be sort of up and down, but they're not huge ups, and they're not these huge crashes. They're not huge battles in our life once we kind of understand and integrate spirit, mind, and body. But if that is not happening, then we can be sure that there is something in that area of our lives. For many of us, it's going to be, health or finances or the relationship or our work or vocation. We're dissatisfied now doing what we've always done. So we can just look at an area and realize there is something there for us to know, for us to uncover, and for us to heal. It's something there. And I can say, with all the work that I've done since 1997, it is always one of a few things. These are deep-seated beliefs that every human has. The first one is, I am not good enough. Or a version of that, I am not enough. And we don't walk around saying, I am not enough. This is why it's hidden. We don't say, I'm not enough in this job, or I'm not enough in this relationship. No, it's a hidden belief that we decided on when we were very, very young, from the time we were born till we were 2 or 3 or 4. And it's always because we are infinite, eternal beings stuffed into this time and space and this finite form. So the infinite is getting trapped. And that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like we're stuck in this body, and our little child mind cannot make sense of it. So it starts to interpret what's happening to us, that we can't feed ourselves, we can't get around, we can't move very well, we can't do what other people are doing. And that's in the best case situations where we had great parents who were loving and kind, but they don't get to us every time we cry. They aren't available every single time we think we need them as a baby. So we start making decisions, we start making analogies when we are not able to really have the logic and reason of an enlightened adult. We begin to make associations that they're not coming for me because I am not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not quiet enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. I can't feed myself. And when we see adults or even other siblings or other friends or teachers or grandparents get angry with us, again, we start making these associations when we're very, very young. And then we start adapting our behavior to do what? To get the love or the attention or the feeling of safety that we need, or that we feel we need when we are an infant or a toddler. So I don't want to get into all of that. It's just to say that it's natural that these things are hidden. But it used to be in ancient shamanic practices and ancient traditions, such as the Judaic tradition. There used to be processes where we would bring children into adulthood, such as being bat mitzvahed or bar mitzvahed in the Jewish faith. And there are other traditions, obviously, in many shamanic or indigenous traditions. And that looks like that we're saying, hey, we realize you accumulated certain ideas and certain beliefs and certain, because of certain situations in your life. But now, as you become an adult, you have to change your thinking. Now you have to readjust and reprogram yourself as an adult. And we don't have that anymore. We haven't had that in a very long time in many of our cultures. And so we never go through the process of reorganizing our thoughts, of really looking at our thoughts and releasing them ceremoniously in sacred activities to say, this is what I did as a child, and now as an adult, I can stand on my own 2 feet with this clean slate of mind and make new assumptions, make new identifications when I need to, make new ideas for myself. But we don't, and we didn't. And so now we have to do that for ourselves in a society that doesn't really value that yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. That's the truth. Because of books like The Secret out in 2006, we are getting to the point where we realize that much of our unhappiness, much of our anxiety and our depression and our negativity comes from our own belief systems that are hidden. So to uncover those, we can look at the area of our life and just begin to sit, close our eyes, meditate, and ask questions. What must I believe about myself to have this be happening in my life? What must I believe about the universe? Sometimes we believe that I'm not good enough. Sometimes we believe there's not enough to go around. Maybe that's something your parents said, your father or your mother growing up during the Depression or post-Depression, whatever that was. It's like whatever we adapted and adopted to fit into our life, we can just ask, what must I believe to be experiencing this in my life? To have financial lack when it appears in the universe that people are able to make millions and millions of dollars by doing seemingly mundane and normal things. I mean, all the millions and millions of dollars made in the world aren't because somebody is an extraordinary genius or extraordinarily creative. A lot of times it looks like luck, right? But that person does not have a barrier in that area of their life, or they have worked to release the barriers in their life. I know for me, my biggest barrier, I knew I wanted to have a spiritual life when I was a young child. I went to Catholic grade school and high school, and I associated being spiritual with being in poverty. And it is not just me, it's not just the Catholic or Christian traditions. It's in Buddhism. You must give everything away to become a Buddhist monk. You must have vows of poverty to be a Hindu saint or sage, depending on where you are and who you're following and what monastery you're joining. But so it's very natural part of this idea of spirituality. So I had that hook, line, and sinker. And not just me, but a lot, since I surrounded myself with a lot of spiritual people, spiritual teachers, and it was a lot of belief in lack and limitation. Like, you don't have enough money to pay for this class. Well, I'll just do it for free. And you find people stretching themselves so thin. I've done it many, many times for many, many years, volunteering and working on donations and not taking any money, and of course pro bono work and all kinds of things. But it doesn't come from more than enough. It doesn't come from the idea that I have so much to live on, that I have so much to give and to share. No, it came from the idea that to be spiritual meant to take a vow of poverty. That was my hidden belief. And you can bet that I've worked on that for quite some time, and still am, because again, we go to the traditional image of a lotus, and it's the many petals unfolding and unveiling the truth that is within. Well, it takes layers and layers and time again to work on some of our hidden beliefs. And someone else may be finding a struggle in their vocation. They've accepted a long time ago that they had to work hard to get anywhere in the world, and they had to work hard. But if they worked hard, that they would see these results. Well, we know a lot of people that are working very hard, maybe 2 and 3 jobs, and they are still struggling. They're still struggling because there's an idea that they can't work hard enough, or they're not good enough, or there's no, in whatever field they're in, there's no room for advancement. There's no room to break the ceiling of not enough. And so we can uncover our hidden beliefs just by looking at where we are struggling in our life. In this master class, there was a woman after one of the exercises who who shared that she was not able, one of the things she wanted to manifest was renters for her house, her rental property. And it hadn't rented for a year. And through this process and this exercise that we did, she realized that she had a belief that she did not want to be a landlord. Well, guess what? She wasn't. She wasn't a landlord. She created that. I said, we're always manifesting. The thing is, we're manifesting from the 97% of our hidden beliefs. And unless we have worked, and worked isn't a great word, but I'm going to use it, unless we have really consciously with love and compassion and curiosity, unless we have delved into those beliefs to really pluck them out of our subconscious and to look at them with the eyes of love and compassion, no matter where they came from, whether it was a parent or a coach who said you weren't good enough, or whether it was the fact that you always got B's and C's while your siblings got A's. Whatever that is, we created that for ourselves. In other words, we created that we weren't good enough because we didn't get A's like our brothers and sisters, right? No, that's not true. That's not a truth anywhere. That's not a natural law of the universe. That's not, even if our parents may have said that, they probably didn't, but even if they did, and our teachers probably wouldn't have said that, but it's our way of accepting a comparison of our grading system. Well, I'm not as good as they are. They get A's and I get B's and C's and D's. So we take on these beliefs, and until we pull them up and look at them, we are creating from them. And so this woman just was so relieved to realize through another process that she could bless this belief and honor that. But what she had agreed to was to rent this property out with her family and her husband. So there's an agreement to do one, and there's an underlying belief that I don't want to. What does that create? Conflict. And it creates the universe not being able to fulfill any of it. Well, so I have another client who rents her property out, but doesn't get the rent for it. Like the tenants are not good tenants. So again, there's an underlying beliefs that are fighting each other. This is what I agreed to rent this property out, to make money and have this support me in some way or support my family or whatever that was, that you didn't sell that house. You agreed to rent it. There's an agreement in the universe and maybe even on paper. And now it's not working out the way you thought because of a subconscious belief. So just like that woman in the master class, to come up with that belief and realize that you can honor that you have had this for the year, that you can bless it, release it, and let it go, and create now from this clean slate. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. First, you have to identify why you don't want to be a landlord, because you think it's going to be difficult. You think someone's going to trash the house that you love. You think it would be easier to sell the house. Whatever those reasons are, they're lurking around underneath the belief that you don't want to be a landlord, because there's a reason, right? That you agreed to be a landlord and then you don't want to be a landlord. So sometimes it looks a little convoluted, but with just some simple questioning and some simple journaling and some intuitive guidance from, we could call it source or spirit guides, from really just sitting with it, we can understand that, yeah, maybe I have created that I've had really bad tenants in the past. Maybe I have created that the time where I had tenants moving out every 3 months and it was just disrupting the rest of my life. Whatever that is, we We acknowledge that it was difficult, and now we get to create, manifest, and create our dream tenants. People who love the property as much as we do, people who honor their agreements, people who are excited to live in a space that we've created, people who are excited to jump into the energy of the home that we have created with love, and we send energy to that, rental property. So there are so many ways we can now create consciously what we would like to see. So I hope this has helped with the idea that we are unconsciously or consciously always manifesting. We're always manifesting. So you can look at your life and just see what isn't really what you had hoped it would be. What is just seems like this massive effort that always maybe seems to fall apart. And you can know, wow, there's some if there's not some obvious beliefs, there's hidden beliefs. And you may need some help to discover those. And well, that's what I do. That's what I do as a coach or in any of my programs. So you can reach out to me, and I always schedule a free vision breakthrough call. Please join me on that. But just know that there is a science to it. People like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and others are recognizing that this is the way our mind actually works scientifically, medically. There's a reticular activating system. There's a default mode that we go into, and there are 88,000 thoughts that we think every single day, but 90% of them are repetitive. And I'm going to say underground. We don't know that we're thinking. We know that we're thinking, wow, I'm hungry. That's a beautiful thought on behalf of the body. I haven't eaten in 5 hours. My goodness, I better go grab something to eat. Or I'm thirsty. I haven't had enough water today and it's a hot day. Right? These things are conscious thoughts we're aware of. But what happens with the thought where we say, oh, I'm really hungry? We're standing in front of the refrigerator and we just ate 30 minutes ago, and now we're grabbing that piece of pie. We already had our first one. We're not hungry. So we can absolutely know that there is a hidden belief underneath that has something to do with our well-being, that we are burying our thoughts with food, that it's comforting for us, that we're avoiding something else by getting up and going to the refrigerator or using food as an excuse to um, be social, or, all these things. So we just dive in and don't be afraid. And some of these thoughts, yes, are frustrating. And some of them you think, I've worked on this. I have worked on this. I have forgiven. I have loved. I have, you know, resurrected this thought from way underneath the rug that I buried it under. But if it is not resolved now, just like the lotus, it's just calling you to unfold another layer, and to love it and to let it go once again. And like my person in the master class, she got to create a new thought, a new scenario where she had beautiful clients coming in that loved the place, and that that financially it helped her and her family, and it honored the agreements she originally made with her family regarding that property and with the universe. So our thoughts are things. And if we just first think a thought, it's just a wisp of energy. It's nothing. It's like mist. And the light of the sun can dissolve that mist so easily. But if that thought becomes a habitual thought, and then it just sinks down into the subconscious, and we're not even aware that it's there anymore. It's like the hum of the refrigerator in the background. it's still playing. It's still going, and the universe is still recognizing it. So that is when that little bit of energy, that wisp of energy, it solidifies and it densifies. Is that a word? Becomes more and more dense, and we eventually see it in form as the challenge or the problem or the lack of finances or the lack of relationship or the lack of communication. That's how we know that there is a thought, because that thought has solidified into our life, into a situation, an event, or circumstance, or relationship in our life. And we can resolve it as easily as we created it. We look at it, recognize that it is nothing but energy we have put our subconscious energy into. Now we get to consciously and lovingly dissolve it. We get to erase it. And I will say that's what I do with my clients. I erase that so that we don't fix it, we don't overcome it. It's gone. We just let it go. Like the winter coat on a hot summer's day. Gone. Dropped. Never to be seen again. So no, is it easy? Yeah, make it sound easy. It's simple. It's simple. It's not always easy. I get that. That's why I've had help most of my life, and that's why I help people. Because we all need help sometimes. That's why I do these podcasts and interview so many amazing people, because they're all out there finding ways to help you love your life and live your passion. And that's, that's my thing. So I hope this has inspired you to just sit with a journal and just take a quick snapshot of your life and know that you can manifest anything you want when you look at the underlying cause of anything that is disturbing your peace or your joy. Just be willing to kind of dig it up, take a look at it, bless it, and let it go. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and go ahead and share it with a friend who has been struggling in that area of their life and they're not really sure why. This will help them. And check out my website, 𝐬𝐵𝐿izabethcantey.com. It always has something going on there. And my classes and workshops are always on my Facebook page. That's at Elizabeth Cantey as well. I'll have the links in the notes. And I just hope you love, laugh, and live enlightened all week long.